Welcome to Algebra 1 Honors. This is lesson 8-10, the last lesson in chapter 8, and it's called inverse variation. And when you get to high school and you start learning to drive, it will be near and dear to your heart, okay? Because you will have to at least think about what inverse variation is there. Inverse variation is a little bit different than direct variation, and a good model to use in thinking about this one is driving a car. So let's assume that the distance you want to go is 100 miles, okay? And the way we calculate distance is rate times time. Rate times time. Our speed times the amount of time that we drive that speed, okay? So this is going to be our constant of variation. This is going to stay the same. The distance from where I am to where I'm going is 100 miles. It's not going to change. If I go 50 miles an hour, okay, it's going to take me 2 hours to get there. If I slow my speed down to 25, okay, so if I cut my speed in half, I have to double the amount of time it takes me to get there. If I reduce my speed to, let's say, 10 miles an hour, okay, then it's going to take me 10 hours to get there. So my two values, my R and my T, they're not opposites per se, but one gets larger as the other gets smaller and vice versa. Okay? They don't both go up at the same time, they don't both come down at the same time. As my speed gets slower and slower, my time gets longer and longer. Okay? So the hours go up as the speed goes down. Okay? And that's what inverse variation is. Now the problem you might see is something like, it'll say X varies inversely as Y, okay? Given X1 equals 50 and Y1 equals 10, okay? Find X2 if Y2 equals 25. Okay? Now, what you have to remember is that in inverse variation, it's not the ratio that stays the same, it's the product. It's the result of multiplying the two numbers, it's always the same. So we take 50 times 10, and that has to equal, because our product has to stay the same, has to equal whatever X2 is times 25. Well, 50 times 10 gives me 500. So now I have to find X2 times what? Times 25 gives me 500. So I divide both sides by 25, and it turns out that X2 is 20, because 20 times 25 is 500, just like 50 times 10 is 500. So it's not the ratio that stays the same, that's direct variation. It's the product, it's when you multiply, that result you get stays the same. So 50 times 10 has to equal 25 times whatever you calculate for X2. Okay? And that's all there is to direct variation. And like I say, when you learn to drive in high school, it'll be near and dear to your heart, because in your head you'll have to be making sound judgments on, maybe I want to go a little bit slower and it'll take me a little bit longer to get there, but I'll get there in one piece. Okay? As opposed to going faster and getting there quicker, but maybe not getting there quite as successfully. So when you think inverse variation, think about driving, because speed and time are inversely related there.